What is Learn Outside? Learn Outside is a fascinating approach in the education field that allows students to expand their knowledge beyond the walls of the classroom. It is a metaphor for the idea that learning should be done not just within the walls of the classroom, but also outside of it. It encourages both literal and metaphorical educational attributes, such as outdoor activities, field trips, and hands-on experiences and project-based learning. This experiential approach encourages students to explore their environment and to use it to help them understand their world better. This approach helps student agency and the gaining of a deeper understanding that they can apply in a relevant real-world situation.
Welcome to episode 4 of Learn Outside. Today we will learn about the whole child approach to Learn Outside for student engagement. Thank you for joining us for Learn Outside, an informal discussion about innovative and effective teaching practices that disrupt the status quo in education. Practices that activate the superpowers in educators and students. This podcast series is hosted by myself, Dr. Candy Van Buskirk, Assistant Superintendent here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools in South Bend, and
I'm Dr. Marilyn Nash. I'm the Maker Manager here at K5 Success Academy.
This podcast will feature superhero guests that are currently disrupting the status quo in education through innovative and research-based practices who are inclusive and supportive of all learners. Today's superhero guest will be Rhonda Meyer. Rhonda is the MTSS coordinator here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools and has over 30 years of educational experience. So let's get started first with our Learn Outside moment of the week. Dr. Nash?
All right. This week's been very exciting here in the makerspace. I had a group of students I was working with, and we developed a business plan because we were going to open a bakery. So we walked through all the steps of what would be the purpose of the bakery, what are we selling at the bakery, who are our customers, and the conversation was amazing and lively and student-centered because they really worked through the thoughts of, let's call the bakery Cake Bakery. And yet when we talked about it, and we thought about what are their products going to be, they realized it's not just cakes, so that wouldn't work. And after a lot of questions and conversation, they decided to call it the Makery Bakery because they'll be making things in their bakery.
It's clever.
And so it was really nice to see that whole process of developing a business plan, and then they actually made the products, and we're going to have them for sale this evening here at Success Academy, where we're going to have our showcase, and the students all throughout the building will have their engineering products and everything from this year's work. So very exciting to see that full business plan of creating, developing, and then selling their products. Very hands-on, very real-life applications.
No, very exciting, and I am looking forward to the showcase tonight. And just with the story you shared, you know, they're owning it, Makery Bakery, and it shows the student agency that took place and the ownership of their learning. Thanks for sharing that, Dr. Nash.
You're welcome.
All right, Miss Myers,
Well,
what
actually,
is your Learn Outside moment of the week?
I actually also had a moment with students, middle school students, in the makerspace at Career Academy. And as I walked through, I could see that they were diligently working and having conversations with each other, and asked, what are you working on? And they were creating a biome project out of their social studies class, but it was integrated into other content areas. So they had to create a biome and then an organism that would live in the biome. They used the CAD program and the 3D printer to actually make the organism, and then they had to market it and tell about it and do public speaking in regards to what it was and how you can find one and what it can do for the environment. So again, multifaceted and all directed by the students. Now there were adults in the room, but the students were the ones who were taking their learning, their content, and then putting it into action. It was really exciting.
What great connections.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, it just takes me back to last week when we talked about Kolb's stages of experiential learning, and the students were rolling through all 4 stages, so very exciting. Well, my moment of the week occurred last night. One of my favorite nights of the year is the Distinguished Grad Banquet that took place last night.
Oh, nice.
And we had the opportunity to have our top 10 seniors that academically 3.75 and over GPA, they have the opportunity to choose an educator of their choice Their parents are there. We have a lovely meal. And then the students have the opportunity to get up and talk about their educator, why their educator, how their educator impacted their 4 years here at the Career Academy, and then vice versa. Then the teacher has the opportunity to share about the student and the pride that goes into that on both sides, the teacher, the student, and the parents and the guardians that are sitting in the room. Very touching. But the stories that they were sharing were around their experiential learning that took place here at Career Academy.
Excellent.
And one of the pieces that was highlighted was we have students that we don't think about this being experiential learning, but we grab students to lead our school tours when we have families come in, when we have distinguished guests come through our building. And this is another opportunity to share and to learn. And learning is taking place while they're giving the tours, but it's not something that I was thinking about last night, that when our students are giving tours, that this is another experiential learning opportunity.
A great way for them to develop their leadership skills, communication skills, and, like we like to talk, brag about what they're doing and where they're at.
And they have to understand what that is in order to be able to share it. And what a great testament to what we do for prospective students and their families.
That's right.
Yeah, wonderful. And they're just so excited and want to share about the good things that's going on and their learnings that they're taking ownership in, right? Well, ladies,
great.
it is that time. It is time to go to our superhero commercial of the day. So we'll be right back.
This message has been brought to you by the Success Academy Kindergarten class, the class of 2023. Congratulations to the kindergarten class of 2023. Yes, they graduated.
Welcome back to Learn Outside. I hope you enjoyed our sponsor. All right, we are back with Rhonda Meyer. She's our MTSS coordinator here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools. Rhonda, if you could share a little bit of what has brought you to this point in leading whole child approach here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools.
Yes, I'm proud to do that, actually. You mentioned in the opening that I've had over 30 years of experience. This is my 34th year, to be exact.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I've been a teacher, an adjunct college professor, but for 25 of those years, I've been a school administrator at both elementary school and secondary school and middle school. Over the years, I've known that it's always been important to know about students and build relationships, and with teachers and build relationships. So I think moving into MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, in other words, it's a fancy phrase for how do we help adults and children be more successful in their learning experiences. There's behaviors that get in the way, and there's obstacles that are in their way, and so we target and look at what it is we need to do for students and teachers and parents in the community to make sure that learning takes place for kids. So what brought me here? Well, I like a challenge. I like a challenge. I've been in rural schools, urban schools, small schools, large schools, but this is different. The network of schools here is different. We do learning differently here. It's a challenge. It certainly is a challenge. But it's so exciting. It's great to come every day. The moments that we talked about where we can see that in students, they happen not just in maker spaces, they happen in classrooms and hallways and at recess and after school programs, everywhere. And harnessed and targeted, we can make a huge difference in the success of our students. And I'm happy to be part of that.
I can really hear the passion in your voice talking about these things, which is pretty powerful to me. Having been in education for decades, that this is so different and yet so powerful for the students, the teachers, everyone.
Thank you.
You know, I recently heard a quote, and it was, if your why is powerful, your how is easy.
Exactly.
And so, yes, the work is challenging, but our why is so powerful that the doing is easy. It's exhausting, but it's great work.
Yes.
So now I want to move on. If you could share with us, what is whole child approach and what does it look like in the classrooms? If we were to go into a classroom here in the Career Academy Network of Schools, what would we see?
If you looked up the definition of whole child learning, it talks about relationships first. That children and adults need to feel valued in the spaces that they're in. And while we are all very different, we all have value. And so I would tell you that that's really one of the first things that you will notice if you're in a classroom or in a hallway. Even when students are in the office, if they're struggling with a behavior, we are taking the approach that it is not you individually, but it is you as a whole person that is struggling today, or has a challenge today, or even has a joy today, and then we can build on that. You'll notice in our classrooms, we are targeted in making sure that we are reaching students socially and emotionally. Every morning here at the elementary schools, we do a community circle. And we use a curriculum it's called Review 360, but it's the soft skills. How do I make friends? How do I handle anger? How do I wait my turn when it's not my turn to talk? That one's a hard one for me. I'm still learning it every day.
I think most educators,
okay,
right?
Just every day it's a struggle. At our secondary schools, it's in their advisory class. So again, we work with students on ways that you can get your point across and get it across professionally and with dignity rather than loudly and forcefully. It's necessary. If it's not targeted and practiced, it's not necessarily going to happen. I think we lost a lot in the pandemic when we were so isolated and didn't have opportunities to be social with each other and learn some of those social norms. But know that it's also okay to say, is there a better way to say that?
That's right.
You know, a lot of times we just ignore it and move on. But it's better to address it, provide interventions if necessary, and then it will help the student get through the day better, get through the year better, and get through their life better, and take those into adulthood.
That's right. Nice connections.
Yeah, I really, I appreciate, it starts first with relationship and connection.
That's right.
That's that whole child learning. I recently, yesterday, had the opportunity to talk with Michael Fullen. He is an author, professor, does a lot of research globally around
Very smart.
systems, just an incredible educator. And in talking with him, he just recently wrote a book, Principle 2.0. So if you're interested, it's a incredible.
I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, it's a great read. It's a very it is current in regards to what has occurred since the pandemic and the impact, the importance of whole child learning, but also how our administrators and our teachers, how we are different and how we have to be different in education and in disrupting it. We can't do education how we did it pre-pandemic.
No, has to
Everybody
be new.
is
Needs
different.
To be all new.
Our teachers are different. Our students are different. The relationship, you mentioned that earlier. The relationships for our human connection are so important, and we missed out on that. Now we're seeing the inability to regulate ourselves, and so we have to teach that.
Exactly.
And when we roll into our teacher prep programs, it is still content-based and not picking up these other pieces. I really do believe that some teacher prep programs are seeing that there needs to be a difference, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Correct.
And even if they are, we are not there yet. And that would be one of our challenges as administrators and educators, to make sure that we are having a voice in teacher prep programs. I don't think that it's the students who are coming out of college fault. They don't know what they don't know. So that lends itself to, then the schools need to be preparing all of their teachers, including their new teachers, and some teachers that, if I went back to the classroom like me, if I weren't passionate about MTSS, I might not understand that there are other components and very important components about students' health and their ability to feel safe. That takes place too. That keeps them from learning if we're not taking care of those obstacles for them. So professional development, once you're in a district, is going to be very important as well. And it's becoming more important now. Social emotional, MTSS, is becoming more of a buzzword, and people are paying attention to it. I'm glad. I'm glad for all of our children that will be the case in all of our districts.
Yeah, it's definitely needed for sure.
I just going with that, I've recently read the book The Whole Brain Child. The Whole Brain Child is by Dr. Siegel and Dr. Bryson. And when we talk about relationships and talking about, students regulating, a piece that was shared in this read is we have a left brain and a right brain. And as students are growing and developing, the integration between the left brain and the right brain, they're still working on that integration. And so when a student is, how they had shared it, is if a student is upset and is coming from the right brain, it's important that we approach them from the right brain mentality, right? And then if they're upset from the left brain, that we have to approach them there. And so if there is a student that is irrational and you're coming at them at a logical sense, it's not going to calm that student. It's not going to bring that student down. And so the information, the reads to learn more about the whole child approach. Share with me some of the resources that we use within the Career Academy that supports whole child learning.
I will. In fact, I want to start with the fact that this district is a PLC district, professional learning community, and that the teams, it's made up of teams, professional learning teams. So that could be a grade level, that could be a content area. The reason that's important is because when we need to learn as educators how to better serve our students, we need time. That's the first thing adults will say. I don't have time to do that. Thanks, it's great, I love it, I believe in it, but we don't have time to talk about that or do that. This is important. So the district has already set up a framework for that kind of conversation to take place. So when we need to talk about social emotional learning strategies or relationship strategies or how to identify students that need interventions, we have built-in time to do that. After that, we work with, and I brought a prop, but we work with Solution Tree for PLC, and now they have a behavior component, and they also understand that the whole child includes their academics, which we started with them, and data and how students are learning and progressing, but also what's getting in the way of that. Are the academic behaviors getting in the way? Are the social emotional behaviors getting in the way? And you would target those differently. We also have an identification program, K-12, called City Connects, which is out of Boston College, so you can look for that if you'd like to. But it helps identify, tier, provide interventions, and then look to see if they're working, and then re-tier the students and start all over again. And that includes not just our students, but it also includes our parents. And we use resources in the greater community to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students. And if a student has a need that we don't have an intervention for, then we cultivate an intervention or a relationship within the community to make sure that we have that. And that can include social workers, therapists, nutritionists, a variety of, including, and not limited to, our academic supports for students. But we have many supports for our students necessary for their entire education, not just the academic piece.
It sounds like,
Go ahead.
It sounds like a whole network of support and resources, and you used a word that even in that large network, reflection.
Yes.
Taking time to what is working, what isn't, what else do we need, so that we're always, it's a dynamic process.
Exactly.
It's not stagnant, it's always moving, always addressing the student needs. So I really like that broader sense of a network.
No, agreed. And what I was just going to say is talk to City Connects. How many years have we been doing City Connects?
Well, let's see. This would be our second full year in City Connects, and we're reauthorizing for 3 more years. And it doesn't, with City Connects, it doesn't have to be City Connects. Anyone listening to this podcast, there are other ways to get this kind of a framework without working with an entity. However, this entity is very well staffed. They are a technical support to us. They meet with us regularly. They evaluate how we are doing for our teachers and our students. So it keeps everybody, I like to say, on the up and up. And they're a great resource as well. So when new strategies are coming out, or when new techniques, strategies, you talked about Michael Fullen's work. I mean, when those things are, when new information is coming out, they meet weekly with our staff, and they're using those in the work with their kids and their families in the classrooms and in the communities.
Right. Sure. I think the piece that I want to drive to is that yes, you can use something else other than City Connects.
Right.
But are you finding for our district that City Connects and the data, the information has been valuable?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely valuable. In fact, we're going to make a presentation at the next board meeting in regards to what do you want to see? You want to see results. So you want to see less referrals, less outbursts, less referrals for discipline. You want to see grades improve. You want to see attitudes improve, and it's easy to do it when you're doing grades mathematically, but it's a little more difficult when you're talking about the affective parts of learning.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we have the students do surveys and tell us,
That's right.
Am I learning better? Am I feeling better? Am I respected? Do I have better relationships with my peers? And we get that information from students. I would also tell you that, again, that affective piece, when you talk to adults, so our teachers will say, wow, this year's so much better than last year. And so I might say something like, tell me more about that. What's better? And when they can articulate that, and then they target on, oh my goodness, and so what have you done? Because you're right, it is better, but what have you done? What have you done differently to make it so? And then they recognize what that is as well, and it empowers them to continue on and keep it going. It doesn't feel like one more thing when you're the one who's driving it.
Sure.
And it goes back to the reflective piece again.
Correct.
Thinking, constantly looking at that piece.
Well, ladies, great conversation, but it is that time where we have to go to our superhero commercial. And we are excited that you're going to see our graduating fifth graders. We'll be right back.
This next segment is brought to you by Success Academy fifth graders. We are out of here. Congratulations to our fifth graders. Now back to Learn Outside, the podcast.
Back to Learn Outside. We hope you enjoyed our superhero commercial of our exciting fifth graders that are graduating. We are back with Rhonda Meyer, our MTSS coordinator, multi-tier systems of support. Yes, sorry, my acronyms are not working with me right now, Rhonda.
They call me the feelings lady.
The feelings. Yeah. I'm with the feelings lady and Dr. Nash. And our next question for Miss Meyer or Rhonda is, how do we support our educators to lead the whole child approach?
Well, first of all, we need to make it not what we do, but who we are. And I think we are totally getting there. We have
That's
buy-in.
Excellent. I love that.
Our staff knows the importance, and that's the first part. And they see that it works. That's the second part, so that cyclical motion keeps it going. But I would tell you, there's amazing professional development. And for those of you that don't know, this is not sit and get professional development. We actually plan and work and model and do all kinds of great work. But you will not want to miss Dr. Nash's Summer PD. Teachers, you have these flyers, Makerspace Teacher Summer PD. This is another way to make sure that you're getting into that experiential learning, and you can do it on your time and have lots of fun. I know I hope to be there. So thank you, Dr. Nash, for providing that. It's wonderful.
That's right.
So this is this PD open to all educators, or is it just educators within the Career Academy Network of Public Schools?
Well, this is an exciting piece. It's for all of the teachers in the network of schools for us. And give a little heads up, in the future we are planning community-wide PDs as well.
Perfect. So will this be virtual or is this in person?
It's in person, hands-on. People will be learning to use all kinds of equipment to support all the STEM and hands-on pieces that we're using in our classrooms, learning outside.
Learning outside.
Well, I love the Learn Outside. For those educators that aren't a part of the Career Academy Network of Public Schools, know that there will be future PDs that we will do virtual, that we will share that you too can jump in and be a part of. But we just thank Rhonda
Thank you for having
for
me.
joining us this week in
you.
podcast number 4. And we just want to share that join us next week with our guest superhero, Nick Garska. He's the high school principal at Career Academy Network of Schools. And we will learn more about career pathways and partnerships at the secondary when we meet with Nick next week. And so we just wish everyone a joyous Learn Outside week.
Have
Thanks
fun.
again.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
Bye.